All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful and maybe one of the most radical ideas in all of human philosophy. We're talking about the work of an 8th century thinker, Shankaracharya. And this isn't just some dusty old idea. It's a philosophy that asks you to stop looking for answers outside yourself and instead discover something that's been true about you all along.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever had that quiet little feeling, that nagging sense that you're not just your resume? You know, that who you really are is something much bigger than your name, your job, your relationships, or the story you tell about your life? If you have, just hold on to that feeling, because that's exactly where this entire journey begins.
Shankara's whole philosophy kicks off with his pretty bold diagnosis for why we suffer, why we feel anxious or limited or incomplete. And he says it has nothing to do with the world being broken. Nope. He says it's because we're all making a fundamental mistake in how we see ourselves. A case of mistaken identity he calls the great identity mistake.
Now, the technical term for this is adhyasa, which basically means superimposition. And Shankara is incredibly direct about this. He says this single, simple error is the root of all our problems. It's when we take things that are not us, like our body, our fleeting thoughts, our emotions, and we superimpose the idea of me or I right on top of them. According to him, every bit of suffering stems from this one single mix-up.
He uses this brilliant analogy to make it crystal clear. Imagine you're walking into a dark room, right? And on the floor, you see what looks like a coiled snake. Instantly, your heart starts pounding, you're terrified, you freeze. But then, you flick on the light switch, and you see it was just a piece of rope the whole time. The snake was never actually there. It was an illusion. Your fear, though, that was very real. But it was caused by you superimposing the idea of a snake onto the reality of the rope. Shankara says this is exactly what we do with our own self, every single moment of our lives.
So, if we're constantly mistaking ourselves for the snake, what's the rope? If our entire life is based on this illusion, what's the actual reality of who we are? Well, this leads us to Shankara's truly radical diagnosis.
First, he talks about the Atman. This is your true self. And let's be clear. This isn't your personality, your ego, or your memories. The Atman is the silent, unchanging awareness behind all of that. It's the you that has witnessed every single thought, feeling, and experience you've ever had. It's the same awareness that was there when you were 5 years old, and it's the same awareness that's here, right now, listening to this. It just watches. It doesn't change.
And then there's Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate reality of the entire universe. It's the single, indivisible substance from which everything emerges and into which everything dissolves. Think of it less like a personal god up in the clouds and more like the very fabric of existence itself. The ancient texts describe it as truth, knowledge, and infinity rolled into one. It's the whole show.
So we've got the Atman, your innermost witnessing self. And we've got Brahman, the ultimate reality of the entire cosmos. And right here, this is the moment that changes everything. Shankara's central teaching, the core of Advaita, is that these two things, they aren't just connected, they are identical. Atman is Brahman. Your individual consciousness is the same thing as the universal consciousness. There is no separation. It's all one.
Now, Shankar didn't make this up. He was a brilliant philosopher who clarified what the ancient scriptures, the Upanishads, had been saying for centuries. One of the most famous declarations from these texts is Tat Tvam Asi, which translates to that thou art. It's not a philosophical theory, it's a direct statement, a teacher telling a student, you, your true essence, right now, you are that ultimate cosmic reality.
Okay, so this sounds like a pretty mind-blowing idea, but how do you actually get there? How do you go from hearing this to truly knowing it in your bones? Well, this isn't about just believing it. Shankara lays out a very clear, disciplined path to train your mind to see the reality instead of the illusion.
It's basically a kind of spiritual boot camp for the mind. It starts with discrimination, learning to constantly tell the difference between what's permanent and real, the Atman, and what's temporary and unreal, like your thoughts and the world. Once you start doing that, it naturally leads to dispassion. You stop getting so caught up in the ups and downs of life. Then you work on cultivating a set of inner qualities, like mental quietness and focus, and eventually you're left with just one thing,
this intense, burning desire to be free, to realize the truth for yourself.
And the goal of this entire path, the final destination, is something called moksha, or liberation. And again, this isn't about earning a ticket to heaven after you die. It's about waking up to who you've always been right here in this life. It's a total, fundamental shift in your identity.
Just think about how massive this shift is. In the state of bondage, our default setting, our identity, is I am this body. I am my thoughts. I'm the one doing things, and I'm the one who feels happy or sad because of them. But in liberation, that completely flips. The new realization is, I am the pure awareness that witnesses the body and mind. I'm not the doer. My true nature is limitless peace and bliss, and it doesn't depend on anything outside of me.
Shankara actually wrote some incredibly beautiful poems to try and capture this feeling. This verse is from his Nirvana Shatkam, and it's like a guided meditation. It's a step-by-step denial of everything we think we are, followed by this incredible, powerful affirmation of what we truly are. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am the form of consciousness bliss. I am the absolute. I am the absolute.
So yeah, it's a deep concept from over 1,000 years ago. But what does any of this have to do with us today? You know, in our world of social media feeds, deadlines, and constant notifications. Turns out, it has everything to do with it. What this philosophy offers is a kind of freedom that is just radical. It's freedom from that constant, nagging anxiety of trying to be the person you think you're supposed to be. It points to a source of inner peace that doesn't go away if you have a bad day at work. It's about discovering an identity that runs deeper than your job title, your bank account, or any other label the world puts on you. And maybe most beautifully, when you realize that your own self is the very same reality that's in everyone and everything, it creates this profound, unshakable connection to the entire world.
So we end up right back where we started. We've looked at the mistake, the diagnosis, the reality, and the path to get there. But the last step, well, that belongs entirely to you. The question is this: if you could strip away everything that changes, your body, your emotions, your thoughts, your entire life story, what's left? If you are not any of those things, then who or what are you?